Today's guest is my friend and mentor, Debbie Evans. Debbie, what was your first stunt in the industry?
My first stunt was jumping a 30-foot ravine on a motorcycle. It was called Death Sport. It was a
Uh-huh.
Roger Corman, New World picture, B picture, and they needed a girl who could jump a 30-foot ravine and do all this motorcycle stuff on an old motorcycle with a whole bunch of metal stuff to make it look space age.
Wow.
So I got a call because Gene Hartline, who was a stunt coordinator and
Hmm.
stuntman, knew my dad's sponsor. My dad rode for Montesa,
Oh,
and
okay.
Gene and him were talking, and Gene said, "Well, I have this thing, and I need a double. I need a really good motorcycle rider, and we have some good motorcycle riders, but I need someone with a lot more experience." So he said to Gene, "Just call Debbie's dad. Get Debbie," and gave him my dad's phone number, and the phone rang. I was signed up for my second year of junior college, general ed,
Uh-huh.
and that was in September. And I went and tried out, and I started working, and I don't even think I withdrew from my classes
Oh my
because
God.
I found what I'd been training for my whole life and
Your
didn't
whole
know it.
life.
Yeah.
I mean, talk about just jumping right in and going like for the top automatically with a 30 foot. Who does that? I mean, most
Yeah.
people come in, they start off small, but not Debbie.
Well, it's funny because like 6 months before that, I had seen a TV show where it was supposed to be a girl on a motorcycle,
Hmm.
and the guy's neck was this wide, and his
Oh,
shoulders were,
wow.
way out to here, and
That's
I just
crazy.
I checked around, and back then you either had to have a Screen Actors Guild card to work, or
Hmm.
you had to know somebody who could get you in the industry, and I didn't have either. So I just rode the nationals. I was riding the nationals for Yamaha. I was a factory sponsored rider.
Oh, wow.
And so I was doing the nationals against the men. And so Lane and I were off riding trials, and then I signed up for school, and then the phone rang. So I always think God had a plan for me.
He did. You
And
just
I
didn't
knew
know it
when the
yet.
door was open that it was my chance.
Yes, yes. You mentioned Lane. Lane is your husband, and Lane is also a stunt performer, stunt coordinator, and rigger. And what else does he do? The both of
Yeah,
you
he's
are
three-time national trials champion and
okay.
rode for Bultaco. I rode for Yamaha. So we
Hmm.
kind of rode off into the sunset together. And then I got the opportunity to work in movies and actually get paid decent to do what I love. And then I was
Uh-huh.
always an athlete and loved anything active. I was all CIF center fielder. I played volleyball, basketball,
Wow.
softball, and then I also skied, water skied,
Mhm.
surfed. Uh, so in anything active, skateboards, unicycle, I could wheelie my bicycle farther than any of the boys and do figure eight wheelies in the street and
Oh my
just
goodness.
anything active I loved. Jumping
Clearly,
off of
clearly.
fences and climbing the roof, hanging from the light post.
What did the boys think of you all those years in bike competitions and races and stuff? Because I know that you've beaten quite a few men. What was the
Yeah.
talk around town about you? Do you remember back then what it was?
Well, I was pretty accepted because I came up in the kids class with a lot of the really top competitors here in Southern
Mhm.
California. And so I think they were just used to me.
Okay.
So, but when I did go ride the nationals, I know I hurt quite a few egos.
Yay!
But,
No,
but
I'm
and,
kidding.
it was funny because in our local competition, it was really the place to be if you were riding trials because the competition was so intense
Mhm.
and the level was so high.
I
So
guess so.
yeah, so there were times where a certain guy would beat me and I'd be beating myself up because
Mhm.
I knew I was better than him.
Mhm.
I never stopped to think how he felt.
It's hilarious. Just doing some research on you, I went to your IMDb page and I was shocked over the amount of credits that you have. I didn't realize that you had that many. I know you've been in the business quite a few years. And when I say quite a few years, I mean like over 35 years. How does that feel looking at your own story and knowing that you have over 4 credits in this industry? What does that do to you? How does that make you feel?
It makes me feel good, to
Mm-hmm.
see that I've been able to work in this business since, well, I got in September of 19.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, so it's
That's
45 years.
yeah.
And when I was younger, I thought, well, when I'm 40, I won't be doing this anymore because I'll be too old.
You were just getting started at 40.
Yeah, I actually was. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, and there were also barriers that the guys that were in the business would put on me, like if you get married, you won't work. If you have
What?
kids, you won't work.
Okay.
If you turn down location jobs, you won't work. And
Oh.
and I've always been where if people say stuff like that, I take it as a
Mhm.
challenge.
Mhm.
Well, I'm going to
Yeah.
prove them wrong.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I don't
Yes.
really think
Yes.
much about it. I just go out and I prove them wrong. And
Mhm.
it's just so happened that throughout my entire career, it's been like that. And I've been able to move on and keep going, and I'm still going strong.
Yes, you are. You are.
So, but it's really cool. I look at all the credits and everything, and some of them I forget about, and then I look and I see it on the credits, and I go, "Oh yeah, I remember when we did that, and we did this and
Mhm.
that, and I was with so and so."
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun.
That you are truly an amazing talent in this business. Now, I
You
know that you've doubled Michelle Rodriguez in 8 of the, what is it, 10 now, Fast and Furious. How did that job come along?
That job came along because Mick Rogers was running the first Fast and Furious,
Mhm.
and he needed a girl who could drive really well. And one of the things I had to do was drive underneath a semi truck and
Mhm.
then get hit by the cab and then flip off the side of the road.
Oh, wow.
So, my reputation as a car driver, because my motorcycling experience transferred directly into the cars as well.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
you understand like things like traction, lines, momentum, suspension, all kinds of different things. And I understand mechanics and all that.
Mhm.
So as a result, when I got in, I started with the motorcycles, but I almost immediately went into car driving as well.
Mhm.
So I had the best reputation in the industry for being able to handle just about anything. And so Mick hired me for that. And we were sitting around at lunch one day, and he goes, yeah, I got this thing where, I need Michelle's character has to drive underneath a semi truck. And I go, I've done that. And he goes, you have?
What?
What? You have. Of course you have. It's like, he was so excited. He goes, well, you'll do it then. Because, he was trying to debate and wonder if he had to get a guy to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And do you ever have a hand in creating some of these stunts that we see in Fast and Furious?
I think I have a hand in creating almost every stunt I do
Oh, okay.
because I'm the one who's able to give it the flair,
Mhm.
to, to give it the life. So if you're just going through the motions and you're just doing the movement,
Mhm.
but you're not thinking about putting your all into it, making it fit the story,
Mhm.
um, it takes creativity to be able to think on that level when you're doing something action wise. And so, as far as, creating scenes and things, I come up with ideas, and it's kind of a team sport sometimes, depending on
Mhm.
who you're working with.
Mhm.
I just wait till the right time, and I usually just go over to the coordinator quietly and say, hey, I thought of this. What do you think?
Mhm.
And most of them want to hear it. They want to hear the ideas.
Right.
So that's always rewarding when they use my ideas.
I'm sure it is. I'm sure it is. So I have to go back a little bit to a film that is iconic and it's a classic, The Matrix. You rode that motorcycle into ongoing traffic on the freeway with a passenger on the back weaving in and out of cars.
Mhm.
Like how do you do that? I mean, you had to take into consideration the weight and the size of the passenger, and I know there was timing and rehearsals and all of that. Can you walk us through that particular stunt?
Yeah, that Matrix Reloaded was really a cool thing to work on because when we got there, R.A. Rondell was the main coordinator, and he said that they wanted to do everything CGI, the directors did.
Oh,
And
wow.
he told them, he goes, "We can do this for real."
Mhm.
And they just couldn't believe it.
Mhm.
And so what he did, he set up, he took different portions of the sequence and made them events. And so when we got there, we went through each event,
Okay.
on the table with our little cars like we
Mhm.
always do and everything. And then we went out and, we went to the car department, the effects department, checked all the equipment out, and then we got um, all lined up for this separate events. And then we started assigning people to what cars and all
Mhm.
that. And so it was all worked out before we ever even rolled camera.
Mhm.
And it made everything move so smoothly. Now, when I first went to the first rehearsal out at Whiteman Airport, I was trying the car out, or I mean the motorcycle out, and it didn't handle real well.
Oh.
But when I got on the motorcycle, it didn't handle real well. And I'm going, okay, yeah, I can cut back and forth, but it just doesn't feel quite right. When we
Mhm.
got out um, to Alameda, where we were working, we had Will Leong was on the back. And
Okay.
with the extra weight, the suspension worked way better
Okay.
because it was crotch rocket,
Uh-huh.
the road racing
Speed.
style bike.
Mhm.
I'm short. All my weight was pulled forward on the tank, and the back end wasn't getting enough weight to the ground. So with
Okay.
him on the back, I could just jerk that thing this way, that way, this way, that way, and it was just the coolest thing ever.
It definitely was the coolest thing ever to see you riding that bike into traffic with someone on the back. I didn't know that it was our friend Will until years later. And that's why
Uh,
I was asking you, did it did it matter? Well, I guess it does matter the size and the weight of the passenger because he had to tuck in really small
Yeah,
to
what we did was we took and put a strap because he's sitting up high because the
Mhm.
seat was like that. So
Right.
he's sitting up high above me,
Mhm.
and also the pegs were high. And so, and if he tried to
Oh,
grab me, he would sway me because a lot of the moves I made were really abrupt. And so what we did
right.
was we took a piece of webbing and strapped it around the tank so that he could put his arms around me and grab the webbing and hang on to the webbing so he could
Oh.
just bring his elbows in, and because it was
Mhm.
really important that he stayed right with me, because
Mhm.
there was actually one time where he decided he wanted to look, and we were doing 4 lanes of traffic with 4 cars making lane changes, and my last move was to veer left and go split 2 oncoming semis,
Mhm.
and he went like this,
Oh,
the
no.
bike went like this, and I barely made it through the gap. So
You just made the hair on my arm stand up.
yeah, there were a few close calls on that one. And
Yeah.
so anyways, I just said, "Hey, Will, you cannot do that.
Mhm.
bury your head in my back. You don't need to know
Mhm.
what's going on."
Just trust. Just trust. It's
Yeah.
me,
I mean,
Debbie. Just
oh,
trust.
the funniest thing was when we first got there to Emeryville, where we were staying. All of a sudden, the somebody knocks at the door, and there's this huge, it almost looks like a funeral arrangement. It's just so big, the flowers. It was just a huge
Oh my
bouquet of flowers, and then I go, I wonder who this is from. And so I open it up, and he goes, "My life is in your hands." Poor guy. I told him, Will,
Oh,
I wouldn't want to be on the back with me. 'Cause
mhm.
I hate riding in the back.
Well, I have to say, Debbie, I trust you with my life. I would do it. I would do it for sure. I really would. It would be a ride of a lifetime. How many times would you ever get to do a stunt like that?
Yeah, it was
But
pretty amazing. And
yeah.
it was fun too because the directors, one of them was with us. And so he would say, Deb, do you want to see it? And I go, yeah, I'd love to see it. Come in
Uh-huh.
Video Village. So I'd go and I'd
Uh-huh.
watch and I go, I can make that better because I could see
Ooh.
exactly what they were seeing and where I could tighten it up. And
Mhm.
so he goes, go do it, and it's so,
Yeah.
and it was so in that way, it was really, really fun for me
Mhm.
because I could fine tune everything and
Yes.
get a chance to really see what was going on.
Right. Can you explain what Video Village is? Because people may not know what it is.
Video Village is the van. It's like a big sprinter van usually, and it's got all kinds of monitors that show the director
Mhm.
what the cameras are seeing. And
Right.
so they can play back everything, see if they got what they wanted. When I first
Mhm.
started, they didn't have any of that. They would
They
ask the operator, the camera operator, "Did you get it?" And they'd
Oh,
go, "Oh, yeah, I got it." Or, I think we might need another one.
oh
And
my
then where you would see the footage was in dailies.
okay.
And that
Okay.
happened at the end of the day,
Mhm.
when or the next day when they got all the everything because it was film.
Right.
Yeah, and there were no monitors then.
There were no
So,
monitors then.
yeah.
That's crazy, the things that have been created over these last 10 years to make our jobs and everybody else's jobs a lot easier. But I know that you've done a cannon and a pipe ramp. What is that like to be inside the car when they call action? What is that like? What goes through your head?
Um, well, it's you get that adrenaline rush,
Mhm.
that you're containing. You're strapped down so hard that you can barely breathe.
Oh, okay.
And, but when they say rolling and action,
Mhm.
everything goes from out here perspective to phoom, you know.
Mm.
It just
Mhm.
you everything comes into focus, everything kind of slows down a little bit and you just
Wow.
do what you need to do. You kind of picture what you're going to do and you
Mhm.
go up to the ramp, if it's a pipe ramp, you you have to line up to the pipe ramp which is a pipe that you run the undercarriage of the car up and it flips the car. And
Mhm.
sometimes there's a kicker on it which will kick it up in the air. But when you sit in the seat and you're lining up, if you just sit normally in the seat and you drive up to it, your perspective is totally different. So when you get in and you have your gear on, which
Mhm.
for me is my donut, my helmet, my restraints,
Mhm.
all that, and then you have the 5 points, which are the racing seat belts,
Mhm.
and you pull down so low that you really need to line up on that ramp when you're pulled down low so you see exactly what you're going to see.
Gotcha.
Yeah, because it's really hard to line up on those ramps sometimes.
Mhm.
So, and then when they say rolling in action, you just take off, and you gotta judge your speed too, because a lot of times if you go too fast, you're outside the set, or they have cameras down and you've
Uh-huh.
passed the cameras. So you really have to zone in on, sometimes it's a gearing and you hear the engine if you can't see the speedo. So
Mhm.
a lot of times what I'll do is I'll have somebody drive in with me to tell me my speed on the radio
Okay.
as we're doing the lead ups. So
Okay.
there's quite a bit to it. And I've done I don't know how many pipe ramps. There's over the years, it's a lot.
Really?
and then I've done a couple cannons. Yeah. So
Can you explain what cannons are?
cannon rolls are where they, what used to be where they would, it's got a cylinder, and they used to stick a telephone pole in there, and then they
Mhm.
used to put black powder charges to blow the thing out the bottom of the car, which
Uh-huh.
that blowing picks up the car and flips it. So now they tend to use air pressure,
Oh, okay.
and then sometimes it's a telephone pole, but not so much anymore. It's more like a cylinder that's like made out of high density plastics, or I've
Mhm.
even had like discs where they use discs that, yeah, they're packed in there, and then as when they come out, they still have it still has the same effect, but you don't have a big old thing rolling down the road.
Yeah, I was gonna ask you about that because once you're pushing the button in the car,
Mhm.
right?
That's
Once you
correct.
once you push that button, that cylinder goes somewhere
Uh-huh.
and
Yeah. So
every
so the first one I did was coming around a corner on a road, and then there was like an embankment that went into a field
Mhm.
around the corner. And so I came in and I turned, you know, got it got it turned sideways and hit the button. And
Mhm.
that's really important where you hit the button, because if you slide and you overslide, it's going to put you like the back end first and do all kinds of weird stuff.
Okay.
So honestly, a lot of times when you do a cannon, it's just a turn in and hit the button, because it'll keep moving that direction, and then you'll get a nice batch of rolls.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the
So, but
button.
that was intense because, when I hit it, it went up and it hit the side, and it was all like loose dirt, and it
Oh,
felt like all the energy stopped for a second, and then it just went wow, and it just started rolling
wow.
like crazy. In fact, we didn't have arm restraints back then, and my hand went out the window.
Oh.
But normally I keep my hands on the steering wheel,
Mhm.
but when I do any rolls or anything, but this time it yanked my hands off the steering wheel. It was so intense.
Oh my
And
gosh.
so my hand went out the window as it was flipping, and I brought it right back in and grabbed my belts like this and rode it out like that the rest of the way.
Good idea. Good
I,
idea.
I don't know. I
What?
just, just second nature. I just did it.
Oh my gosh. How many roles have you done? Because I know who was it that just broke the record and did 8? Who was that? I can't remember.
Logan
Mm,
Holiday.
the holiday. Right,
Yeah.
exactly. So how
He
many
did
roles
eight
have
and
you?
a half. Yeah.
That's
I've
amazing.
done, well, you count the full roll.
Full
So
ones.
the full
Mhm.
roll is not from here to here. It's all the way over. And so
Mhm.
I've done 2 and 3/4 rolls.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It
In a
it it
Jeep.
really.
It was really intense because it was a Jeep truck, and
Uh-huh.
the sides are so square that you
Yeah.
you hit hard. That was a pretty violent one.
Now, so we all know, well, most people know that the Jeep has a roll cage in it already. Do they reinforce that
That one didn't have a
again
roll
or?
cage. It's the Jeep truck, the newer one.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah. So
Something
so we
interesting.
always put roll cages in now.
Mhm,
When I
mhm.
first did my first rollover, they had a roll bar, and they put it in for a guy and so I'm pretty short. So the roll bar was way, way, way back. And then my first rollover was with a wood ramp.
Was where?
A wood ramp.
A wood ramp,
Yeah, a
explain that.
wood ramp. So you have a
Okay.
ramp. It's
Mhm,
made of wood,
mhm,
and you come up. and put your wheels on, and then you turn in as soon as you get on the ramp, you turn into that, and then it flips it like that.
Flips it over.
Yeah. So I hit it with some good speed, and it flattened the whole car. Oh, and then we go to a grab strap. So
Okay.
we make this grab strap
Uh-huh.
because we know the car's going to flatten. And so you make a grab strap so that when you turn and then you grab and you pull yourself down so that
Mm-hmm.
you're not sitting straight up.
Oh my gosh. I don't think I knew about that grab strap. Is
Yeah.
that new? Is that new over the last I don't think
Oh,
I've
no,
ever
no,
heard of
no.
that.
This was in 78, I think I
I don't
did
think I've
that.
ever heard of that. No, I've never
Yeah,
heard
in fact,
anybody talk about it.
I use grab straps as a safety thing where if I'm in a car without a roll cage and I
Mm-hmm.
think that there's a chance of it turning over, I I take the passenger seat belt and I make something so that I have somewhere to go. And I think about it ahead of time. You know, sometimes I'll lean my seat back a little bit more so I get a little bit more room to move
Mm-hmm.
around to pull myself down.
Wow. I'm
It's
just
fun. I love all the puzzles, figuring it out. And then after it's done, it's just the greatest feeling because
yeah.
everybody, is like, yeah. And then I like to go and I like to see where I hit the
Mm-hmm.
ramp, especially with the pipes because they ding the under, like the bumper. And so you can see and they usually grease it so
Mm-hmm.
that it slides better. So you can usually see where the grease is, so you can see where on the inside of the wheel you hit it. And I like to see how far it flew and count.
Mm-hmm.
You have, so it's like a
Neat.
big puzzle. Yeah, and there was this one movie called What Dreams May Come with Robin Williams,
Mm-hmm.
and I turned over a Porsche in the Broadway tunnel in San Francisco, and I hit it at 52 miles an hour.
Oh my
Um,
gosh.
the director said it would be nice if you hit the top of the tunnel. That was
What?
about 18 feet high. Yeah.
What?
And so I was with Russell Solberg and it was his ramp. And so we were figuring out where I
Oh my.
needed to hit it because, you've got the nose of your car and
Mm-hmm.
the inside of the wheels. And so what we figured was not to hit it right just inside the wheel, which is where we like to hit it a lot, but to go between just kind of slightly off center.
Mm-hmm.
So I would get that height, but it would still rotate.
Oh.
And so I broke the light at the top of the tunnel.
Oh my goodness. Again with the goosebumps. I
Well,
just
the
okay, so
funniest
go ahead. Go
the
ahead.
funniest thing was is afterwards somebody told me one of the transpo guys said, I couldn't believe it. Most of these guys come up and you hear them going toward the ramp and then they let off. And not
Oh,
Debbie.
Debbie floored it.
Aw.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I just so many thoughts. I don't know what to say next. So many thoughts that just ran through my brain when you said you hit the light at the top of the tunnel.
I was up there so long.
What was that
Yeah.
flight like? What was that flight? I mean, it's like you almost needed a
Angela, it
ticket.
was like it was
God.
unbelievable because I'm up there so long and everything kind of sometimes slows down when you're doing
Uh,
things like that.
uh-huh.
And I'm going, the ground is coming. The
What?
ground is coming.
It's gonna be
Oh,
hard.
this is gonna hurt. But it landed, thank God. I always pray before my stunts, and thank God
Yeah.
it landed on the back
Mhm.
first and then just came down. And I just went to the chiropractor the next day and I was fine.
Oh my goodness. What kind of I know you explained earlier that you wear a donut and what other kind of gear do you wear to do these types of stunts? Like what kind of pads? You wear a mouthpiece? Like what else do you
Yeah, I
wear?
put a mouthpiece in. I wear a full face helmet with D rings
Mhm.
on it. And I've
What
been
are
using the
D-rings?
hybrid system lately.
Okay, what are D-rings and what is the hybrid system?
The D rings are like little little rings that you put on the helmet that you can clip into.
Okay. Oh, okay.
Yeah. So the hybrid system is kind of like what they use for racing right now.
Mhm.
They called it the Hans device at
Okay.
first, and then they've come up with some hybrid, some little different tweaks on it on that
Mhm.
system. And I don't care for that as much as what I used to use. What I've used all these years is a they're called neck restraints. I use a big old donut underneath, and
Mhm.
then I clip in to the D rings with these straps that go underneath my armpits.
Okay.
And so then I can pull down, and I pull down till I can barely feel the top of the helmet pushing on my head.
Mhm.
So, but because of the or the donut and the D rings, everything moves like this.
Okay.
So, a lot of times the guys can take much more um, abuse, jolts, and things on their necks because their necks are so much wider, and
Mhm.
and they're just built different.
Right.
So with my little pencil neck, just it really helps me. I've done so many things with that, and I've used the hybrid the last few times, and I don't like it as much
No,
because it's not as stable. It
not
doesn't
as
hold
stable.
my head as solid as I want it
Mhm.
to be.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Oh.
but there's so many things I use shin guards. I'll
Mhm.
put motorcycle boots on sometimes, depending on
Oh,
the
okay.
car. Sometimes, if there's fire involved, I'll just use my racing shoes because they're
Mhm.
fire
Fire retardant.
resistant. And
Okay.
sometimes I have to be in wardrobe. Other times, I'm able to wear a driving suit,
Mhm.
which is fire, you know,
It's one
fire
piece
protection.
fire protection. Gotcha.
Yeah, and sometimes I wear the gloves depending on what's going on with fire and all that kind of stuff.
Mm.
And we use a fuel cell in the back.
Okay. So you'll have to
Uh,
explain what that is. What
a
if
fuel cell is a gas tank for racing, and it's got foam inside of it. So what happens is if you fill a tank up, like a small tank like that,
Mhm.
and you don't have the foam in it, it can create gases
Mhm.
and it can explode because of the gas,
Right.
the vapor, the
Mhm.
gas vapor. So when you have the foam inside, it keeps it from producing the vapor.
Paper.
And so, yeah, but when I first started, we were just using little aluminum cans, sticking them
Mhm.
in the back.
Oh my gosh. I mean, who created that and then knew that that would work? There had
Well,
to be trial and error.
a lot of the stuff has come from racing.
Okay.
Yeah. So as the racing developed and the safety from the racing happened with the seat belts and all the different, and the roll cages, we always put roll cages in now when we do
Mhm.
something like that.
Mhm.
So as that started develop, we would just adapt things from the racing world.
And bring it over to the stunt world. It's really cool. Do you
Mhm.
I'm sure you've been asked this before a lot. Do you have a favorite stunt that you absolutely love to perform?
I do like doing the turnovers. Yeah. All different kinds. I like car crashes. It makes me happy.
It makes you happy.
Yeah.
You're just gonna get out on this wall.
Well, it's all like a puzzle. You would think a lot of people think it's just, oh, go for it. Just go for it.
Uh,
But when you get on set, it's not a big open parking lot or
mhm.
dirt field where you can do anything. There's all these different parameters. So
Right.
it's a lot of pressure to be in the hot seat and
Mhm.
to have to perform like that.
Mhm.
But it's so rewarding after it's done.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Can you walk us through a typical day? Well, sorry, there is nothing typical about doing a car stunt. So let me take that out. There's nothing typical. But can you walk us through a day where you have to do a pipe ramp or a cannon? What is your preparation for that, like the day before? I heard you say that you say a prayer, which is great always to start with. So how do you get ready for it?
Well, a lot of times I'm involved in even like weeks in advance,
Wow.
going down to special effects and
Mm-hmm.
making sure that I'm not so low I can't see. I won't be able to
Okay.
see. I bring my gear with me so that I
Mm-hmm.
can get in the car. They fit the seat to where I have to be sitting, because a lot of times in the past they've just gone, "Oh, we got a short guy here, we'll just throw him in." And it's
Oh.
really important that I sit in and I see where I'm sitting, what I need to see, and when I get pulled down, I need to be able to see over the dash.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So there's a lot of working with effects beforehand and checking the car out and seeing if it runs. And, because a lot of times they'll get the junk cars to do the crashes with.
Mm-hmm.
So we have to suss everything out. And that's one of the reasons that I'm so valuable to them, because they can just say, "Okay, Debbie, you go take care of this. I know where I want my belts.
Right.
I know what things to look for, sharp edges that could be problems with
Mhm,
different things, and what I'm going to need for so many different nuanced things that we have to get ready for."
mhm.
So there's a lot that goes into it.
Wow.
Yeah. And I can't say much now because there's a World Stunt Awards coming up.
Okay,
I
yes,
don't want
please.
to skew anybody's
Okay.
uh, voting, but either way, it's like
Yes.
I just, if I win an award, I want it to be on merit, not that they really liked it, not that it's that I don't want them just voting for me because it's me, or you
Right,
know.
right.
But
Okay, so since you brought that up, I have to say, Debbie has won 7 World Taurus Awards, right? More than any other man or woman. Is that right?
so far, I think it's correct. Yeah.
So far. The year's not over yet, folks.
Yeah,
Oh
well,
my
I
goodness.
know that a lot of people have more than one, but yeah, I do
Mhm.
have a lot.
Where do you put them, Debbie? You have a lot of them.
Well, one
Just so
one
people.
one I got for Matrix Reloaded,
Mhm.
and so that's in the American Motorcyclist Hall of Fame Museum,
Oh, wow.
because I
Okay,
was
that's cool.
inducted to the American Motorcyclist Hall of Fame in 2003.
Mhm.
So it's on display at the museum in Ohio, in Columbus, Ohio.
Oh, gosh,
And
that's
then
cool.
6 of them are here.
So this trophy is about, would you say 3 feet, and it's about 15
Oh,
to 20 pounds, would you
it's
say?
heavy.
It's really heavy.
It's really heavy. Yeah. We
I
have to put, because it's got wings and it's top heavy.
Mhm.
So we put a cable around it and attach it to the wall.
Oh
So
my god.
so in case there's an earthquake, it doesn't break something, or
Mhm.
or let's say if a kid's over here, one of my
Yeah.
grandkids or something,
Oh, yeah.
you don't want them falling on them. That's for sure.
No, that's for
It would do
sure.
damage. There's jokes about
Definitely.
using it as a weapon
A weapon.
if somebody breaks into your house.
Well, first you have to be able to pick it up and swing it before the person. Yeah, we shouldn't be talking about violence during this interview.
Violence? What's that?
Okay. Okay. So just a couple more questions, then I'll let you go. I know that you have a son that's also a driver and he's also into stunts. What was it like raising him in the house? Did he jump on the furniture? Was he consistently, going from one thing to the next? And did you tell him to get off the counters? Like, what was it like having two stunt parents? What was that like?
Well, we had parameters for him in the house because we
Mhm.
figured we didn't want them going to someone else's house and jumping on the furniture and doing things like that. But he had this little race car bed and it had a wing on it. and I went in to change his bed one day, and I leaned on it, and it almost went to the floor. And I'm going, what is going on? So I lift up the mattress, and the slats that go across to hold the mattress were broken.
Oh,
Because he was doing flips off
oh my god.
off the wing onto the bed. Yeah.
Oh
So,
my
but it
god.
was funny because I let him just well, he's the middle kid. And
Mhm.
when he was in my tummy, he was like punching, kicking, flipping, and
Of
that's the
course.
way he came out. He's 6'1", and he could do a standing
Oh my
back
goodness.
flip. Yeah.
Wow.
And so I knew early on that he was going to be a stuntman. I
Mm.
just knew it. He came out that way. In
How could he
fact,
not
one time
be?
when Becca was little, I had her on the little swing in the patio, and he's going around in his little push motorcycle. He was 2.5. And he's going around, and then he gets to a certain point and he falls down and goes, hands and feet up in the air. And
Uh-huh.
one time he went around and he fell down, I could tell it kind of bit him a little bit. And he gets up and he goes, sometimes stunts hurt. But I always watched him, to make sure everything was going to be okay. And I'd wait for the reaction. I wouldn't go,
Mhm.
oh no, you
Rush in.
fell,
Yeah.
And so I would teach them, him and his buddy, his little buddy that they were always running around the neighborhood, how to
Mhm.
do things a little bit more correctly. And they'd all do it,
Mhm.
and everybody lived.
They live to tell about it. I love it. I absolutely love it.
And he's an
So
awesome stuntman, and I'm so proud of him. And he's all around, and he just coordinated a show, and so I'm really happy for him.
that's awesome. That's awesome. What's next on your list to do?
On my list,
Yes.
people,
Like, do you have a
people,
bucket list? What's next?
well, I want to work until I don't want to work because I love
Okay.
the people. I love the challenge. I love
Mhm.
just getting the job done, and being
Mhm.
around the people that like you and so many others, that it's so fun when I see everybody.
Yeah,
Um,
it is.
so people keep after me to write a book.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yes.
they're always after me, and I'm just going, oh, I have so many stories and so many things
Oh,
that
Debbie, come on.
it's funny because when I'm out and about with people that don't work in our business and stuff, a lot of times I feel led to just say, well, they go, well, what do you do? And I tell them, and
Mhm.
it's like their whole life, their whole face, everything lights up because,
Mhm.
oh, I've never met a stunt person. And it's so
Mhm.
fun to tell them stories and all that.
Yes.
And I enjoy that a lot
Mhm.
because it's something special that we have, and we
It
can share it
is.
with others. And I
It
really
is.
enjoy that.
Oh, that's beautiful. Well,
And
on that
I've been hurt before, but I wouldn't change a thing because this is what I was meant to do.
mhm.
There,
That's
when I had the second two kids, I went, well, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. But then I realized I was a much better spouse, much happier, a
mhm.
much better mom because I was doing what I was made to do.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
giftings that God gave me, I can use, and it just makes me and a whole lot of other people happy.
Yeah. It definitely does. Definitely does. How do people get in touch with you? Do you have social media handles that you would like to give out?
Um, well, I have Debbie Evans Stunts, which on Facebook,
Mhm.
and uh, my a lot of times, with Facebook Messenger, if people just message me and tell me what what I don't just answer everyone, but if they tell me, what they want to talk about or whatever, then I can um, connect with them. If they just friend me on Facebook, I I can't do that because I don't know who's who and if it's a real account or not.
Right.
So that's a good way to get me as well.
Okay.
And it's Debbie Evans Levitt, Leavitt.
Okay. All right,
Yeah.
Miss Evans, this was fun. This was amazing. Thanks for the goosebumps, the ride that you took me on.
Well, yeah,
It
we've
was,
had some rides together. They've been fun and exciting.
yes, they have.
Uh-huh.
Yes, they have.
Yeah.
Again, I thank you for coming on the Edge with me. Thank you, Debbie.
Yeah, thank you for inviting me. It's always fun to share stories and get to laugh with you. We seem to always have fun.
Thank you for watching. Remember to hit that like and subscribe button. Make sure to follow Angela Merle and On the Edge with Angela Merle on IG for quick clips of every episode.